Hi, everyone. Welcome to A Home You Love, how to create beautiful, functional, and peaceful spaces as your family grows. I'm really excited to have on our show today Alice T. Chan. She is an interior renovation and design specialist at Real Houses of the Bay Area. Alice, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to continue the conversation with you.
Awesome. So, can you tell us a little bit more about the work you do at Real Houses of the Bay Area?
Absolutely. So as the company name describes, I am based here in Northern California in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I help busy homeowners design and manage the home renovation projects so that they can get back to living in their homes and not in a construction zone, which nobody enjoys.
Yes, I can speak to that, having lived in a construction zone and
Yes.
often creating construction zones for my clients as well.
Absolutely. And as much as people say we're not in a hurry, it's not a big deal, once the demo starts and the dust starts flying, we want it done. Yes. We want to start living in our homes again. And I want nothing more than the same exact thing for my clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tell us a little bit more about how you manage and guide that process and how you work to keep it on track.
Okay. Well, it's been refined over the years. You know, I am 100% a systems person. I live and die by a calendar. I have very specific steps that I take my clients through to ensure that every project actually goes through the same process and things don't fall through the cracks. Because if we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants and hoping for the best is not going to come.
Yes.
So it's really, really important that there is the process of understanding and getting to know what the client's wants and needs are, and then understanding what role I play in the whole process, which is helping them come to a conclusion as to exactly what that design aesthetic is for their home. I've been known to be called a marriage counselor, which is hilarious to me because I'm single and happily so. But it's because you need a lot of times a neutral third party to kind of take information from the different parties and not be emotionally attached to one or the other. Right. So, right. You know, one person may really like something and the other person may really like something else. And a lot of times they like very similar things. It's just somebody has to win. And so we want to make sure that everybody in the whole entire house wins. And then making sure that we have a good relationship with our trade partners and our contractors, and making sure that they understand that the ultimate goal is to complete a project quickly and efficiently, so that a 4-week project doesn't turn into a 4-month project, which, as I say, that's not going to happen on my watch, because I won't let that happen, because I will be on you every single day to ensure that the trade that is scheduled for that day actually shows up as they said. And if there's any reason why they're not going to, guess what? Everybody has a cell phone. Right. At their fingertips. And there's absolutely zero excuse, and I've heard it all, why you can't shoot a quick text to someone to let them know, right? So we are all connected, and it's important that we leverage technology and we leverage the more manual processes. I'm a pen and paper girl. I like to write things down. I'm a checklist person. I like to cross things off. There's just a lot of oversight that needs to be done when it comes to any project, whether it's a design project, whether it's a renovation project, just knowing what your ultimate goal is, knowing that having somebody that understands exactly what your plans are and that it's being executed accordingly, right? Because you can have these plans, and if it's all on little pieces of paper and it's kind of in your brain and nobody else knows about it, then that's not going to be a successful outcome.
Right. I love that. I love how you frame it as both that you're the guide for the process, right? And that being a guide for the process is a full-time job, right? And responsibility. But I also love how you frame it that it's a win-win for everyone involved. It's a win for the clients if their project comes out on time. It's a win for the contractors, for sure, for the vendors, for everyone, if everyone's doing their part to get you to that end goal. So I think that
100%.
that's an interesting position to be in as a facilitator of that process.
Yes. And I don't think people really appreciate how much is involved until they go through that on their own, and then
Right.
try managing a full-time job and maybe a couple of kids and all the other responsibilities, and then managing a big project in your home where you're not physically there to see it every single day. And you don't know what to expect, and you know what all the moving parts are that happen in a span of a few hours.
Right.
So it's interesting, and it's an education process for everybody, not only for myself, but for clients and for contractors, because they're not always accustomed to being accountable to another person.
That's interesting too. Yeah, holding people accountable, for sure.
Yes.
Now, I know that you also work in the real estate industry. Can you tell us a little bit about how that work you do there informs your design guidance that you give to your clients?
Okay. Well, I did start off as in the home staging industry, and everything that I do from since then always revolves around what keeping in mind what the resale value of a property is. So regardless if you're planning on selling right now or not, at some point you're most likely going to sell, because gone are the days where people live generation after generation in the same home. Just doesn't happen. So the challenge is making sure that people know how to customize their home to suit their personal needs right now while they're living in the home, while also keeping resale value in mind. And I think there's a lot of give and take that needs to be taken into consideration, because there's the caveat that if you over personalize, that people are not going to want to purchase your home. And that's definitely true. And you want to be careful about that. But the thing is, you also have to love your home while you're living in it, right? So why hold back? Because, you know, someday you might sell your home. Well, that someday may not be for 20 years, 30 years. And for 30 years, you've kind of held back on what you really wanted because someday you might sell it. By the time that happens, you're probably going to have to update the home anyway. So, you know,
get another chance
that's
at it.
my biggest advice to folks is enjoy your home. Live in your home the way you want to live in it. Be a little bit careful about some of the things that you do put in there, but there's nothing that says you couldn't replace that light fixture because, okay, so it's a little bit unconventional. It's not, you know, neutral per se, but it doesn't mean you can't replace it with another light fixture, right? Paint is another thing. Paint the house whatever color you want. But when it comes to resale, if it's not the most marketable color, then repaint it so that it is more marketable. Because at that point, you're separating yourself from it being your home to a house that's for sale, right? So I think that's something that is really important. And I've had big ticket items that are installed in a home that I'm like, I honestly don't think that's a good idea. But in the end, it's their house and they have to love it. And if it brings a smile to your face every time you walk into the room or every time you enter the house, you know what? That's more important than any kind of resale consideration at the time, during the time that you're living in the house.
Right. Totally. It's one of the first questions I almost always ask my clients is, you know, what's your vision for how long you're going to be in this home?
Right.
Because totally. Sometimes you don't know, but if you have a clear sense of it, I'm going to guide you through the design process slightly differently if I know that you're at least planning to stay for 10 years versus 2 years before you moved on to somewhere else. So yeah, I love that it is this kind of give and take between personalizing it, making it really feel like a home that you can love living in while you're there, and then also keeping it, you know, open enough that the next person can envision stepping into it as their home as well.
Absolutely. I also see a lot of people, unfortunately, compromise their everyday lifestyle for just in case. So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
You know, there's multiple bedrooms in the house and there's one that's dedicated to a guest bedroom, right? But how often do you actually have guests? a handful of times a year, but you've got a whole room, square footage that you're paying for every single day that is not being used. And sometimes it ends up just being a dumping ground because it's the room that you're not using. But then you've got kids who are fighting because you're sharing a room. Give them their own space. Like, why are we separating a space and dedicating it to a guest bedroom or a room that you're not even using every single day when you can actually make your everyday lifestyle so much more enjoyable?
Right. Totally. I love that. And since, there are a lot of families watching, I'd love to hear a little bit more of your insights around, this idea you're talking about kind of kids' bedrooms and how a house can also evolve and change as a family grows within the same home.
Yes, absolutely. Well, as a parent myself, and my child is now 13, her bedroom has evolved over time. Just as she has grown, I'm a huge proponent of rooms growing up with you. It's just like if you look at your own current bedroom, it doesn't look like the bedroom that you lived in when you were a child, and it doesn't look like the bedroom that you lived in while you were in college, right? Because you've grown up, and your rooms therefore should also reflect where you currently are in life. And I believe that wholeheartedly about children and their spaces, because a lot of times I see parents put a lot of effort. They're excited, we're having kids, I'm going to build this gorgeous nursery, and then it stays that way forever. And your child is now a teenager and so embarrassed that they have to bring their friends home to something that is very juvenile. And so, and I'm being a little facetious here, but I do believe that maybe nurseries, really, if you think about it, works for about 2 years, and then they enter that toddler stage. They start having interests that they like, and they want it reflected in their room. And let me tell you, if you want a kid to sleep in their room, one of the best ways you can do that is buy them that Thomas the Train bedding or that Transformer bedding or that princess bedding, because now it's like their space. It gives them something to want to go into a room for, right? It's personalized to their personal taste. Not what mommy wants, not what daddy wants, it's what they want.
Right.
And then as they get a little bit older and they need to use the space to do homework, or for girls they want to do their makeup, or they want a space where they can bring their friends in to lounge in, it's really important to help their spaces grow up to accommodate all those different elements. And there's many ways that can help attribute to that. I'll give you an example of my daughter's room, for instance. We've gone through all the different phases. I look through all the photos, and I'm like, my God, when they're little, the things are huge, right? You've got the play kitchen, you've got the easel for the paint thing, the paint projects. You've got so many different things that take up space, and I could not wait to get rid of all of it. He was not so keen on me giving it away. It was a process, and we want to be mindful of that. But this past summer, we actually redid her whole closet. We took everything out. The main thing was like those darn bypass doors do nothing but hide the evil that lies behind it. And we're really good about purging, but when you've got closet doors and you shut those doors, there's things that just stay back there that never get removed. So we took the doors out, took out the useless, single shelf with the single rod that every builder puts into a home, and installed a closet system in there. And now everything is visible, and everything has a place. And if it doesn't go in that room. Let's just be real. To then, eliminate extra pieces of furniture, like a dresser and a bookcase, because now everything is available and can be put away in the closet system. And so those are things that I think sometimes people don't want to do because it's a time issue. And it's also a budget concern, right? But there's so many things that can be done on a budget. And depending on what your budget level is, you can incorporate things that fit that budget. But if budget was a concern, there are so many resources online now where you can purchase things secondhand from other folks who don't need it, but you could use it. And so there's just so many things that can be done. But I love doing kids' rooms because it makes me so happy to see the kids excited to go into their spaces. Because as a kid, you don't have control over very much in your life. Your room is kind of that one space, like, that's mine.
Yeah, totally. That's so interesting. It brings up a memory for me of one of my, what I call my first interior design project.
Yeah.
And it was when I graduated high school. I deferred to college. So I waited one extra year to go to college. And
Okay.
during that time, I decided that what was really important was to redesign my room. And so my father and I took it on as a project. And I had a really, I didn't know I was going to be an interior designer, actually. It's what kind of got me on this track. But I had this vision for it, and I wanted it to reflect the fact that I was now an adult, even though I was still living in my parents' house. So it had like two spaces. One was just for bed. One was more like loungy area and, you know, brighter colors, bolder colors than I'd ever had before. I got rid of all like the baby pink kind of stuff and the Queen Anne, you know, and I really kind of like made it a lot more poppy. So I just remember how empowering that was. And I love what you're talking about with how kids need to feel empowered in their spaces, because there's so many areas of their life where they don't feel empowered.
Right.
And so that's like this safe space where they can really kind of explore, be creative, and kind of express their personality.
Absolutely.
You
And
know,
another thing that I tell people is it's okay. Like, I also think it's very important that you teach your kids how to, if you don't create systems for them so that they can put their things away, guess what? They're not putting anything away.
right,
Everything ends up on the floor. And then you're frustrated and you're getting mad at them, but you haven't created anything to help them.
right,
Do that. So, install hooks that are at their height. Like if you go to preschool, if you go to elementary school, things are at their eye level so that they could access it. But if in our own homes, everything is at adult height, they can't reach it.
right,
They can't connect to it.
right.
That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So in their bedrooms, if you had hooks that were at their level, when they come home from school, they know that that's where their backpack goes, or
Right.
that's where their jacket goes. Having things so that it's easy, because I know that one of my biggest pet peeves when I was growing up, my mom ran a little daycare in our home when I was, I commuted from school,
Okay.
from my parents' house when I was still living there. And I would get so mad. I'm like, can you please have these kids like clean up their toys? She's like, they're little kids. And even at that time, for whatever reason, I was like, but if you teach them to
Right.
put the toys away after they're done, they will do it. But if you don't teach them, then you come home to this hot mess. And
Yeah.
that just drains the energy in the home for everybody else. So I think it's really important that people implement systems in their home to make their everyday lifestyle easier to manage, because we're all busy. We're running around all over the place. We're at work. We've got to take our kids to school. We've got to pick them up. We've got to take them to ballet. We've got to take them to baseball. There's just so many things going. Then come home, cook dinner, and prepare for the next day, and just on and on the list goes. And so a lot of times when clients want to decorate their home, the first thing I do is tell them that I think more importantly, before we even get to decorating, bring in the artwork and the pillows and all the fun stuff that you think you really want, it's more important to have systems in your home to help you organize what you currently have so that it doesn't overtake all the pretty stuff we bring in later, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I've seen that for my own clients as well, where we've designed this really beautiful renovated home, and then when we go back to photograph, it's like already a disaster, and like, oh, I feel like I've like failed them in some way. But it's a combination of having the systems and then also having the strength and the habits in place to use those systems effectively. And I think if we start with our kids, we're empowering them to step into the world as adults who can consistently be organized, put things away when they're done. Like all of those are skills that we can teach our kids, I think.
Right. We have to show by example, because if you never make your bed, how can you make them make their bed? Right.
Right.
If you don't do it, they're not going to. But if you're doing it all the time, then you have more authority to say, go to your room and make your bed. And of course, you have to show them how that's done. and somehow make it so that it becomes a habit, right? It is very much a discipline. So having the systems and having the processes, but then also following them, it becomes a habit and a discipline that just creates a lot less stress in our lives, really, because how stressful is that? Like when you're running out the door and you're like, I need a pair of socks, and you're digging through the hamper, or you're digging through like the laundry basket, and it's not done. Or you're looking for, I'll just say I went to DMV to get an ID for my daughter, and the last minute they wanted a couple of different documents, like birth certificate and social security card and all that. I can promise you, most people, they would be so stressed out, they'd have to schedule a whole nother appointment and dig through their home in multiple places to find those documents. I knew exactly where they were. And I'm not saying this to brag by any means.
No, but it's so,
my life so much easier because I knew exactly where to go. Right. And luckily the DMV was only 5 minutes away. And I was not about to have to make another appointment and go back to DMV. I'm like, I will be right back.
Right.
And I raced home, ran up to my office, opened up the cabinet door where the binder has all my important documents, grabbed the paperwork that I needed, and went straight back to DMV, like all within a few minutes, because I knew where the stuff was. And that saves me then the time that it would take to, like I said, schedule another appointment, wait at DMV again, and go through that process. No, thank you.
Right. Totally. When my systems are working well, I can call my husband from anywhere and say, okay, like close your eyes, walk to the room with this door, pull it open, reach to the back left corner,
Right. And I feel like women, for some reason, we have these crazy superpowers. I don't know how. When someone asks you for something, is like, haven't seen it in 5 years, but I bet you it's, like you said, it's in that top drawer on the left-hand side in the back corner.
Right. I love it. Well, Alice, thank you. This has been wonderful. We're just coming towards the end, so I just want to open it up if there's anything else that you want to share with us today.
I think the most important thing for everybody to remember is that your home should be your sanctuary. It should make you smile. It should make you sigh, like have a sigh of relief when you drive up to the driveway, into the garage, and you walk into the home. It's one of those things that it should feel better than any vacation out there, because you spend more time in your home than on vacation. Like, you shouldn't want to have to escape your home. Your home should be what supports you and your everyday lifestyle. And so the more you can make it comfortable and a place where you can create memories without stress, the happier everyone in your household will be. So, and that doesn't have to take a lot of money. It does take some discipline, like we discussed, and it takes some systems, but there are so many people available out there to help you in all parts of the country. And the great thing about technology is you don't necessarily have to work with somebody in your local area anymore. Right. So, there's lots of online resources and lots of education, but the most important thing is wanting to do it and wanting that lifestyle for you and your family.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for your words of inspiration and encouragement, Alice. I love it. It's been great.
All right. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for the next episode of A Home You Love.